Hi, John and Sean. Um, Tonight, I'm just going to consider the Catholic family, and I'm just going to focus in on the current economic situation the Catholic family finds itself in. I'm going to argue that it's not conducive to Catholic family life, that the way our economy is currently structured is forcing men and women to uh, work outside the home in order to maintain a decent standard of living, and they don't have the option to um, spend their time and energies primarily raising a Catholic family. So if you turn first to some graphs, this is a picture of the Holy Family here, and Jesus obviously was raised in a devout Jewish family and learned his prayers in the family and went on pilgrimages with his family. And it's the balance of prayer, spirituality, and work and enjoyment within a family that give it its Christian strength. And I would argue that nowadays that balance is out of kilter, and that due to the desire for ever-increasing economic growth, that the Catholic family life has been sacrificed for the sake of greater economic wealth. If we turn to a graph of current world fertility, this shows the average number of children per woman in the countries of the world. You can see that only in sub-Saharan African countries are there large families, large numbers of children in families. Most of the countries there have between 4 and 8 children. Now, if you think back to Ireland in the 1980s, when I was in my family, that was perfectly bang on average. We were from a family of 6. I'm from a family of 6 myself. 4 was considered smallish, 8 was considered largish, and there was 3 to 1 was actually very uncommon. But nowadays we can see that most of the world, the fertility level is 2 or below, really. And once the number of children per woman falls below 2, the population begins to contract. So this will happen to most of the world, apart from African countries, in the next couple of decades. So you can see that in migratory pools around the world, in that people from Africa are being attracted into Europe and other countries to effectively fill a labor shortage, because there aren't enough workers in Europe or North America, or soon to be several other countries. Japan is the latest there, and have a huge pull factor in taking people from African countries to replace falling populations in other parts of the world. And the pull factor is also wealth. The wealth is concentrated in developed countries. You can see here North America, Europe, Australia and New Zealand, Japan. As well as that, wealth within regions is concentrated mostly in the hands of the wealthy, in the sense that the bottom 50% of the population in Asia, Europe, they would only have access to, at a maximum in Europe, 20% of the wealth of the country. Whereas the top 1%, or the wealthiest people, the top 1% of the people would share, in Latin America, for example, a quarter of the region's wealth, whereas the bottom 50% would share only 10%. And even the top 10% of people would share 54% of the available wealth. So there's within countries, and there's this inequality of distribution. Europe has made the most strides in developing that. And we can see that Latin America, where the Pope is from, is probably the most unequal country, followed by Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. So in practical terms, then, this survey is brand new. It's from Ernst & Young accounting firm from just about a month ago, or a few weeks ago, actually. And it says that our analysis shows that nearly half of all countries in the Republic of Ireland are unaffordable based on two factors. Based on the above two factors. So they're saying that it's for families, it's very difficult for first-time buyers to buy a house, to start their family life. So, and the model the countries are pursuing is one based on GDP, which is gross domestic product. And it calls on the state borrows money to provide services over and above what it earns, and it's based its ability to pay this money back on expanding GDP. So basically, year on year, the economic model around the world requires increasing economic activity. So we call that, when it gets quite heated, it's called a boom, and then it's called a recession or a bust or a depression if it decreases. So, but this model takes no account of, for example, women working in the home. That's not measured as economic activity. Takes no account of social work or volunteer work. In other words, it's a very poor measure of the actual societal wealth of a country. And the fact that you have to keep feeding this model with greater and greater economic activity each year to keep the state solvent means that in practice it's not conducive to stable family life, where in a family with 4 or 5 children, a lot of the activity will take place in the home and away from spheres of economic production and consumption. So Catholic social teaching, it largely came to the fore in the 19th century, with the famous encyclical Rerum Novarum from Pope Leo XIII, where he reflects on different aspects of Marxism and then different aspects of capitalism and labor and all those tensions that were coming to the fore at that time. So Catholic social teaching is distinctive in its constant critiques of modern social and political ideologies, both of the left and of the right. Liberalism, communism, anarchism, feminism, atheism, socialism, fascism, capitalism, and Nazism have all been condemned, at least in their pure forms, by several popes since the late 19th century. Catholic social doctrine has always tried to find an equilibrium between respect for human liberty, including the right to private property and subsidiarity, and concern for the whole of society, including the weakest and poorest. So the Catholic Church stresses both aspects of society, stresses family life, the right to property, the right to liberty, and subsidiarity. Subsidiarity is where a decision should be made at the lowest possible level in a society. So, in other words, the state should be ceding to the family choices. It shouldn't be interfering in those choices within the family setting, but the family should be free to disperse its time and activities and its finances according to its wishes rather than according to the state's wishes. So a robust family life, according to the Catechism, is necessary for a robust society, in the sense that if the society becomes unbalanced and pursues economic growth to the detriment of family life, then as we're seeing with these pictures here of total fertility, within a generation or two, there will be no more family life, because the families will be too small, and the model then kind of implodes because GDP assumes greater economic activity, but if you have less and less people, there'll be less economic activity. So you're eating your seed corn then with this model. You have no generation to follow through. So in essence, for Catholics, I think we have to get off the treadmill of consumerism and greater and greater economic activity and growth, and just refocus on the spirituality and simplicity of the family life of Jesus. And this is where true joy and contentment lies, not in loads of family vacations to far off locations or loads of new cars with loads of consumption of items, and also in reaching out to other Catholic families and in reaching out to the poor and the marginalized within our own societies, in social outreach and in voluntary organizations, many of which were founded by Catholics originally, like the Vincent de Paul. So this is where the true joy and contentment of Catholic family life and even the true sustainability of Catholic family life lies, not in material pursuits or in pursuit of statist GDP models. That's my thoughts this evening. God bless. Thank you.